Hi, I'm George the Antique Nomad. Come with me as I wander the country in search of valuable vintage, amazing antiques, and cool collectibles. We'll buy, sell, and trade at antique malls, shops, and shows, estate sales, flea markets, thrift stores, anywhere people go to find really interesting things that just aren't made anymore. So come on, let's go! Yeah, isn't it great?
This place is freaking awesome. I don't even know where to look.
Yeah, there's probably about 25 or 30 of us who bring stuff in here. Hey, it's George the Antique Nomad, and I have spent the day at Vintage Modern St. Pete, one of my favorite stores anywhere for antiques and vintage, and a place where I'm a dealer in St. Petersburg, Florida. And I wanted to show you what I did and what I brought in, and also they've got a bunch of new dealers, so we're going to take a little bit of time to go around the mall. We can start by showing this really great Philco Predicta television out of about 1960. I just love this front window display with all the old TVs, the orange Admiral. It's funny how this stuff has really become collectible after being considered obsolete. Now people really want this old television stuff, and old computers, and a whole lot of other really neat old stuff. So let's go in and see what they've got. Well, I'm going to start with MySpace because MySpace just got a huge makeover, and I put in some things that'll be familiar to you, some things that are fresh, and the really cool Danish bar made it here. And there it is in all its glory. Now I know I have it really crammed in because I sold this Haywood Wakefield cabinet, and they're taking it tomorrow. So when that is gone, I'll be able to spread this out so that you can see the bar better. But I had to get things in for the meantime, and boy did I pack it full. Just love the bar. I priced it at $1,600. It's Dyrlund, it's rosewood. Yeah, I'll show you the grain. This is definitely the most expensive grain in wood in modernism, and it's just beautiful. And it's nice because I have these bar stools. I've got the set of 4, so somebody could take a whole ensemble of designer bar furniture home with them. And then let's see, well, obviously I picked up with the orange theme, and I have Viking glass and this little Blanco piece here, this compote. I've got the Italian ceramics, the Gantz woman vase. I also just got these huge champagne bottles. These are dummy bottles you would see in a liquor store. The one on the right is Puree, the one on the left is Mum's. They're priced at $100 and $110. You'll see I got the 2 Robert Hodgel pieces in. They are the backdrop for the booth here, and I think they look just fantastic there. They definitely have their spot. The shark fin here from the set of Miami Vice is now for sale, which I think is very fun and should be interesting to someone. I have priced down the Pendant Lamp. I still think it's gorgeous, but I have not had a buyer at $7.95, so we're going to drop the price just a little bit on that and see how that does. And then I've got the Oldsmobile signed LPGA print in here because we have a lot of LPGA fans in the St. Pete area. And then the comic Watergate era Nixon cartoon print is there. I just got this Coors sign when I was shopping with Jocelyn and Drew up at Renniger's in Pennsylvania. And I like the Mexican candlestick there, that's fun. The Light-a-Lear lamp came in. It's the green 3-way from the 1960s in that sort of Get Smart color of green from the mid-60s. Got a box of Riedel wine stems. That is definitely a name to look for. And then here, well, I did a shelf of black and white because a lot of people are starting to do these stark colors with all the gray tones that are coming in. And so I featured some nice 50s TV lamps. I've got the Lane Mallard, I've got the little Swan, and then of course I have the great Panther lamp from the 1950s as well. Love these little chrome fish salt and peppers. They just make me smile. And I put the 2 little bronzes. This one is an artist who's rather well known by the name of Agnes Mills. And that's why this is $85, even though it's just a little guy, because her big sculptures sell for in the high hundreds to 4 figures. Sasha Brostov here. And then I thought for the color I would put in this 1920s era hand-painted Crown Devon compo because I thought that was really pretty with the big oranges, and it is Florida after all. Got Tina Turner, 1985 program. I saw that concert. Yes, I am old enough to have seen Tina Turner live. She lives in Switzerland now. I notice a lot of black celebrities end up moving to Switzerland. I guess they get treated well there. The sailboat mirror is a sign piece from the 1990s, well, late 80s actually. And I put in the big Statue of Liberty print as a backdrop here. So yes, I am packed with a lot of stuff, but you know, it's the end of my show season. It's time to leave some of this here to sell. My sales have actually been surprisingly good here, considering that I really haven't done a great job restocking and refreshing the booth. So I really wanted to do the best I could for them. I even put in a shelf full of Sidon Stricker. I put in McCoy vases. I put in Lenox vases. Just really trying to have fun with it and give people a lot to choose from. I am by far not the only new fresh merchandiser in the mall, because we have some new dealers here. I'm going to show you some of them now. This dealer has this interesting Bakewile style bust. It's a 1980s Neo-Deco piece, and they have tons of these little West Virginia and Ohio made glass pieces. The little pinch vases there, a lot of those are Blanco. And then they've got just all sorts of different colors of these cute little crackle pitchers. They've got Pilgrim, they've got Blanco, they've got a bunch of different makers in there. All priced about $15, so very viable. A whole lot of carved figures from Asia here. And then this is really cool to see, because you don't really see these collections of Matchbox cars anymore, and they have a lot of the gray wheels. Notice the gray wheels on the top there. That was the very first series from 1964 when they came out. Then they switched to the black wheels shortly after. And they didn't switch to the super fast wheels until Hot Wheels came out in the late 60s. So these are early pieces, mid 60s, a really good selection. They've even got some of the original boxes. They have a couple of corgis as well. So that's really something fun and different. And you know, the prices on these are not cheap anymore. You might see anywhere from $20 to $75 for one of these cars these days. And they've got cats. This is a nice fresh space with a lot of different interior items. And it is a mix of modernism and some traditional that would work in a modern setting. Look at these chairs, for example. A traditional style with rolled arms, yes, but they have been turned into these really fun and funky blue tiger stripe or zebra striped affairs. I think those are really neat. Piece of acrylic art here. This one is by Jack Fellows. This was originally exhibited at the Richard White Gallery in Seattle, which I'm very familiar with from having lived in Seattle, so that was something interesting to see come all the way to Florida. Here's a smoking stand that is pretty deluxe because it's got the clock in it. That is a really unusual feature. It's not in perfect condition, but they're so hard to find with the clock, and it does look like it was rewired, so the cigarette lighter should light and the base should light. And because of that, since it's a hard one to find, it's priced at $300, even though it's a little bit imperfect. This is an interesting sign piece that is a modernist version of the Three Graces. Can't really make out the signature. A lot of people ask me about art and artists. Signatures are something you really have to go to sources that show illegible signatures and try to match. Because there's so many accomplished artists, and some of them have a secondary market and some don't. Now, because gray interiors are becoming a big thing, we have this black set from the 50s here, and I'm going to try to get up to it a little bit closer. This would actually be big enough to hold a king-size mattress, and it is 1950s, definitely. This dark stained, it's actually usually oak is the base for these, and you see these nice Empoli chalices on there. But usually the base of this, believe it or not, is oak. If you see it in the sun here, you can kind of get the oak grain, but then they would saturate it with the black glaze. So it gives it a very different look. This was a popular thing in the late 1950s and early 60s. Here's the other piece of that set, the big dresser, and it is sold. Look at the big mirror. Now this is absolutely 50s as well. This is Virginia house and it is maple, but the reason we know it's 50s is look at the knobs on the lower pieces here and the Conestoga wagon being driven by a cowboy driver. And you've got the sort of wagon wheel shaped pulls. There was a lot of 50s and 60s furniture done with Western motifs because that was so popular, especially for children's furniture. The cork lamp is absolutely out of the 1970s. Look at the shape and the proportions. It's really fun. It's tall and narrow and then a big wide bottle at the bottom. Any of these old cork lamps tend to sell in the hundreds these days. Whereas this lamp is Swedish industrial design by Litkin Ahus. Driftwood sculpture is something that we see very popular in coastal locations, such as this. And then here's a capiche shell lamp from the 60s. A combination of capiche shell and iron. That's definitely something different. The Susie Wong bust is a Marwall piece that we don't really see very often. This one is from the 1960s, but we really don't run into this one as often as we do the Polynesian-looking figures. It's priced at $165. Buddha, this is late 18th century, so this is dynastic era. It's got the gilded wood base. That's a very pretty piece, and it's priced at $12.50. When you start getting back into dynastic era, that's when your values really start to increase on these pieces. The gilded piece is an altar box from Burma. I like to show these because a lot of people in the West say they're not interested in Asian design, but then when they start to see the wide variety of Asian design and how beautiful some of it is, sometimes they get more excited. This is a pre-Columbian Nayarit seated figure and it's quite large. It's unusual to see such a large form. Nayarit is the west coast of Mexico in the San Blas area. And this one is going to date right around the time of Christ. It is priced at $1,800. But I have to admit, the piece that I really like is right next to it. A very hard to find 1940s hula girl lamp. Look at that amazing painted shade with parchment. She's got her original skirt. She did not come with an original top. She's priced at $1,600. They are really that hard to get now. Now this is vintage modern St. Pete, but we do get some antique pieces in too, and this is a great example. This is a Seth Thomas calendar clock, so the upper dial is your time and then your lower dial is your date. Great crackling to the face. It's in a rosewood cabinet. Again, let's show you rosewood up close. This is antique rosewood. Rosewood is a very desirable wood pattern, so something to look for. This is priced at $495. It has an 1876 patent date. But it's so plain and straightforward, it could be in a mission environment, so it actually does make sense in vintage modern because modernism starts over a century ago. Some very pretty Czech glass perfume bottles priced really reasonably here in the $15 to $20 range. This is another new dealer. They have this great lucite lamp in the back that may be a Rougère. And those lucite and acrylic lamps by Rougère are very desirable. And I'm not the only dealer in here with cameras. You see this dealer has some interesting ones too, and I like the one in the back, especially the one that says Seagull on the top. It's a twin lens. Notice the writing on the upper part of it is Asian. So this was actually not intended for export to the United States. The one up on the stand is a Spartus. Those were made in Chicago. They were a less expensive camera, but they tended to have a neat design. And then we've got a couple of the early Land cameras. Land was the inventor of Polaroid. That was his last name. Well, here's an old school lamp, and we're going to watch it change color because they've got a new school bulb. But these lucite paneled lamps like this were lucite and acrylic were very popular again in the 60s and 70s. And this is just a great look that could go in a modern house. Whereas my lucite lamp is this style, and I like that one too. The pendant lamps are really neat. This is the first time I've had them hanging. And then I just got this. This is very hard to find now. I mean, they're out there, but they cost $1,000 and up. I put $9.75 online. Look at it go around. It's just really neat. There's an even earlier version of these that sells for even more, but they have to light and they have to rotate. And of course they are advertising Budweiser because you see the world champion Clydesdales trotting about. Now this case has changed over to a new dealer too, and there's some really cool things in here. The miniature chest of drawers is actually 1880s. So there's an old thing with the altar sensors in front of it. But then this very pretty lady is Corday. This was made in, I believe, New Jersey is where Corday was made. They did lace applique, they did floral applique. It's hard to find them in good condition. And you don't really see them on the market so much anymore. So $45 is actually a really good price for that. The sculpture here, this stoneware piece, is a studio artist named Rosemary Zwick, and she was around from the 1920s to the 1990s. This one is called Sisters, and she is very collectible. This one is priced at $375. And then we've got this glass bird, which is signed Ventri di Murano. So this is definitely Murano glass. We are definitely having to be careful of how things are represented where Murano is concerned now. When in doubt, you may want to steer away from it because a lot of things that are made offshore are being, well, okay, let's rephrase that because Murano is offshore. A lot of things that are being made onshore in Venice or other countries are having Murano labels stuck on them now, so be careful of that. Really study your stuff. Now behind it is an Israeli vase that is by Lapide, and that is a neat stoneware piece. You can see the design. There is some really nice Israeli pottery. I know Laura Caldwell is collecting one line. I've had collectors come to shows who are looking for it. It definitely has that boho feel. This tile here is a rookwood tile. That's a neat piece. And I really like these Torquay pieces, this candlestick pair, or they could be used as bud vases with the sailboats on them, and it says Pleasant Dreams on one, and the other one says Hear All Say Nothing, which I guess means shut your mouth and listen. That would be good advice for me sometimes. There is a classic movie poster, Attack of the 50-Foot Woman, priced at $225. I actually brought in a Brokeback Mountain movie poster priced at about $145 today. Movie posters that are framed, especially when they have great graphics or a very famous movie, they tend to do very well. Now, I used to buy these all the time and I don't see them for sale very often. These are hanging cabinets that would have been used in a bathroom with a towel bar below them. This was to replace the washstand piece of furniture. It's actually got a great old tag that says Peerless Towel Supply Company. You could open it up and you'd have all your shelves. So you've got a medicine cabinet with a mirror that hangs on the wall. This one is priced at $295. The chalice down here is Blanco in the crackle glass. That is Amberina, or as they called it, Tangerine. Now Blanco typically shades just a little yellow and then a whole lot of orange. It doesn't really gradate like a lot of the other companies doing that in that time. Old store display cases do really well in the marketplace right now, and this one is a Schaefer's fountain pen, so someone who is a fountain pen collector would probably love to put a tray in there with all their pens on it. The Schaefer's self-filling fountain pen. This one has a nice oak base with claw feet. This is a very handsome piece, and it is priced at $5.95. These chairs are in the style of Werner Panton. I don't believe they are actually by him, but they've got the look and they're priced really very well. This piece dates to about 1980, and this is Bernhardt Designs. And this is a really neat piece because it's got the drawer on top and you think, well, that's kind of odd, but the reason is because this part folds open for your bar. And it's got a mirrored back. Hi there. And then you've got this at the bottom as well. So very good timing in terms of the interest in brass right now. And this one is priced at $7.95. It's got interesting veneer panels. I like the fact that they did not make them match, so you get just a little bit of a more organic finish with this otherwise very rectilinear piece. This is a neat old Stroh's sign. America's only fire brewed beer. I don't really know exactly what fire brewing means, but Stroh's has always advertised that, so it must be a big deal for some reason. I know Detroiters really recognize Stroh's. This is a nice metal sign on the back, and with the big vat on the fire, I think that's really something rather interesting. I don't see a price on it. I will have to ask, because that is the type of thing that I think I could sell very well in the Midwest, and I'm now starting to look for my Midwest and West Coast show circuit. These folks in the back have a lot of fresh merchandise.
This place is freaking awesome. I don't even know where to look. I'm like, wow.
I agree. I think this is a really amazing store, and I have...
You work here?
No, I'm a dealer here, and it's just great. It's so much fun. I used to come here as a customer, and then when I moved here, I was like, oh, I've got to sell here because they just have the greatest stuff. So,
Dang. So there's like people who bring their stuff and sell?
Yeah, there's probably about 25 or 30 of us who bring stuff in here. We get a lot more variety that way.
Right.
It's really fun. I just love it.
That's awesome.
So this printer's cabinet is late 19th century, and what's great about this is that it's got all the drawers, because there was a time about 30 years ago where everybody was taking the drawers out of these and selling them and making tables out of them and then throwing the husk away because nobody wanted big office furniture. Well, now people who have collections of stuff really wish that there were more of these intact, and the prices have really run up on the ones that are. This one's priced at $19.50. This is the very famous Barcelona chair. You see them in chair form. This is more of a sofa style. It's had some restoration. It's priced at $8.75. If you're north of the border, a lot of nice designer furniture was made in Canada back in the 70s particularly. This teak piece is a Canadian-made credenza. I like the drawers. I really like the open handles, and it's a good look, and it's priced at $11.50. And on top of it, of course, you know I love square dishes, and this is Franciscan Tiempo, which came out about 1940, and they are just as square can be, and you look at them and you think, oh, those are brand new. Then you turn over and you see the mark Franciscan, made in California. They haven't made Franciscan ware in California since 1977, and they haven't made these plates since about the late 1950s. This piece has been here a while, but I want to show it again because it's Lane Pueblo, and you can see the mirror in the back. And I think if this was set up with the mirror showing, it might have a better chance of selling, but this is something we would see more interest in out west, I think. If I had this in Seattle, I would think that it would have been gone, because it definitely has that chunky brutalist style. I love the fact that they use some color with it to give some pop to the design. It just gives it a little more dimension, and I think it's one of Lane's better lines. This one is priced $29.95 because it really is a hard piece to get. Here are a pair of Murano glass birds. Now this one has some problems. That's why they're only $195 for the set. I believe it was repaired up here. But these are real Murano from the 1960s. They don't feel slick and greasy like newer glass, so you're not going to be fooled by some sort of a reproduction. I'm trying to tell a little bit more about Murano because a lot of people who are interested in Murano, which is actually Murano, if you're pronouncing it like an Italian. I'm not great with foreign languages, so I'm doing my best. But I want people to know what to look for so that they don't get fooled into buying reproductions. And look at all these cute McCoy pottery heart vases in pink, in white, in a deeper coral. Too bad Valentine's Day is over. Here's another thing that's definitely remaining hot in the marketplace are these jade green painted, or these seafoam green painted 1930s Hamilton Beach milkshake mixers that were a staple in soda fountains across the country. This one's priced at $195 in working order. Now here is a painted embellished 1890s chest of drawers that has been hand painted and turned into something more for kitchen storage. This is priced at $395. Painting, of course, is controversial. Now the thing is, if the market for these turns around and they start going up in value, well, you could remove the paint. But this one, somebody took great pride in, and actually it is signed by Leaf Kane. And I think that makes it sort of interesting in and of itself. I really like linoleum laid furniture. You don't see a lot of it. This is a neat piece here. Usually this was made at home and then somebody would buy linoleum and make a pattern. But look at the interesting pattern that they chose to make with this. It sort of looks like an opening flower, and it's got a great geometric aspect to it and some fun colors. This is priced at $185. These are generally one-of-a-kind pieces when you see linoleum top furniture, especially when it's figured in this way and not just a sheet of linoleum. And if you're into owl revival, well, this is a pretty incredible sculpture made of reclaimed and repurposed pieces. It is priced at $1,200. And then there is a rack of Hawaiian shirts. Of course, I always go to the orange because I figure that's more likely to be an older color, and it was indeed made in Hawaii. I only like to buy the Hawaiian-made ones. This is a really fun display with Pyrex and roosters. I love the red bird. It's one of my favorite patterns right here, right out of about 1970, and I also am very partial to the sunflower lids. A neat collection of Hall China jugs. The picture here was made for a Westinghouse refrigerator. That's a deep navy blue. This is the Princeton pattern. And then this streamline pattern. This was made in a number of different patterns with transfers on it, but I like it in the blue and plain. And then this one was made for Montgomery Ward. Speaking of old repurposing, look how somebody took this 19th century sled and turned it into a coffee table. That's really fun. If you had a lodge somewhere, maybe not in Florida, this would be just a perfect thing for decorating. It's priced at $395. I imagine if you had it in Vail, Colorado, it would be priced a few $100s more. Well, somehow I have found a 1960s chair that was recovered in a fabric very similar to the shirt I'm wearing, so hopefully I'm not completely camouflaged, but I wanted to say thank you for watching this video. If you're enjoying it, please like it, give it a thumbs up, leave a comment. If you are not a subscriber, please click that subscribe button. Subscribing is free, but it lets us let you know if you click that bell when we're going to have future videos. We have premieres and chat every Monday and Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern, and I am getting ready to start doing some more content on the Antique Nomad Live, our sister channel, so please check that out as well. The outside patio actually has some fresh merchandise too since I was last here. Of course, I brought the majestic fireplace, which you see there behind the chair. But there's this neat tilt-top checkerboard table. That would be fun to have outside, especially if you like playing checkers or chess on a nice day. That's where you could hang out. These folding seats here are something that people are definitely looking for again now with the webbing from the 1960s and 70s. This crazy bird made out of a shovel and various other things was done in 2006, so some of this art is almost starting to be vintage. This one's called Wings and Beer. I mainly see wings. Actually, very little wings. And no beer. I'm a big fan of these corner stands. If that wasn't so huge, I'd want to take that and put it in one of my antique mall spaces and put pottery and planters and all that sort of thing all over them. And then we see a lot of this fiberglass furniture in Florida with the webbed fiberglass pieces, but I have not seen the rocking chairs before, so this is something really different to me. And I see they've got a pair with cushions, and they are, of course, by Woodard. He was one of the most famous of the designers of the patio furniture, and they are priced at $375. Another new space back here that I had to wait to actually walk into because they usually have these on, but there is a huge booth now here devoted to vintage stereo equipment and vintage records. Donna Summer, I think I just heard her a little while ago. But it is really neat to see so much vintage stereo equipment in one place. There's not a lot of antique malls that have this kind of a feature, and they do allow you to plug in and test because it is sold with no return. So they make sure everything is working before they bring it in. They let you test it to make sure it's working to your satisfaction. I noticed the Kenwood is sold. We've got a furniture area in here, and there's a lot of seating in stock, which is nice. Seating is something that people are looking for a lot because vintage upholstered is actually pretty hard to find in good condition. So it's nice to see a selection here. Interestingly enough, I have my Umanov chairs with a Danish bar, but this is an Arthur Umanov bar. So my chairs actually were made to go with this bar. And This is priced at $12.50. You don't really see much of his work available in the marketplace, but it is very collectible. He is a well-known designer of that sort of thing. And then look at this crazy lamp over here. I just love these. You see this sort of thing in Florida a fair amount with the multiple interestingly twisted sockets, and this one is just called a Space Age Atomic Chrome Ball Table Lamp. Sometimes these are designed like birds and robots and things, and those are thousands of dollars. So $3.95 for this does not seem like an unreasonable price. We have a new dealer with wonderful costume jewelry, and she's going to be expanding and taking a very large space here. So when I come back to this mall, there's likely to be a lot more of this to show you. But she's just starting out with this case while she moves her warehouse to this location to sell. And boy, has she got the stuff. She's got fashion jewelry, she's got vintage jewelry. I love this cluster of butterfly pins here. This is going to be fun to watch as it develops because this is just barely scratching the surface, and she has some very good, very high-end jewelry. I really like that Juliana piece with the orange and the citron and the green, that bracelet there. And more to see here. And an entire case full of purses, including some lucite, some natural skin, and this really fun thing that looks like a newspaper. And I'll show you a little shot into the antique district here on Central Avenue. Please also check out my membership packages. It's very helpful to be able to bring you extra content to have member support, so we really appreciate that. You can click the join button or look in the description for the link and find out more about that. If you need appraisal help, I'm going to be back on appraisal work. In fact, this is actually appraisal season with tax time coming up, so I'll be catching up with all of you who sent in information about things you want help with. And if you're looking for help as well, click the appraise button on the antiquenomad.com. In the meantime, we will see you again somewhere soon. Boy, it's getting blustery. I better get in the car before this rain comes. I'm George the Antique Nomad, and we will see you soon somewhere from the antique and vintage world, so bye for now. Thanks for joining me again in the fun and fascinating antique community, here where online meets the real world. Please click the subscribe button below, click the bell to be notified when new videos upload, leave a comment below, and hit thumbs up to like this video. Links to our online social media and our items for sale are in the description. This is George at the Antique Nomad. Bye for now.